Hey, what up, folks? This is Nomadic Nerds here again. Bailey's at your service. Hey, I'm just chiming in to show you guys another tidbit of our daily routine or our life, basically. Wood burning stoves, man. We started putting wood on stoves and using wood burning stoves about 5 years ago. Prior to that, we had the big ambiance in our minds and the grand idea of how beautiful and wonderful it would be. And in fact, it is. But we didn't have the resource to do it, nor did we have the home to do it. We just acquired and bought our home. We own it outright now, thank God, 7 years ago. And the first 2 years living here, we did not have a wood burning stove. Well, that pile you're seeing in the photo is actually of this year. That was May of this year after we got chopping. The very first photo you saw was from March, where we only had like 2 cords sitting up there. And last year we used 5 cords of wood. So we were down to 2 cords this February, acquired some more wood, started chopping, and that photo right there that you're seeing is in May. That's my wife and I tossing and so on and so forth. But back to what I was saying. So we were tired of paying, $800 to $1,200 to heat this house per month in the winter on average. It's a big Victorian grand home. It's huge, 2,600 square feet, including the basement and the full attic. And it's expensive, man. So we do have in our living room a gas fireplace, and on high that's 90,000 BTUs. On low it's 40,000 BTUs. We also have a wall-mounted fireplace in the other room closest to the kitchen, which we use, and that kicks out 20,000 to 30,000 BTU. So it's a good bit of heat, but nonetheless, in a big house like this, without an actual furnace system, which we do not have an actual furnace, it was way too expensive, inefficient. It was in our basement. Our basement is not that warm. The temperature down there is always much colder. So I'm like, you know what? Let's get some wall-mounted and let's put a wood stove in here. So 5 years ago, we did that. And in doing so, we have saved $450 a month on average. And our highest savings in a month was 860 bucks. That being said, though, the one resource that we know we need for a wood stove is wood. But, you know, good thing is we have a few acres of property. We have numerous properties, actually, we have three, in which we can acquire wood. And I have a cousin who is an arborist. So, hey, man, hit the money bags right there, right? Hit the big one. So, here we are. This is us currently. The pictures you saw in the beginning were from earlier this year. I wanted to get as much wood as possible, my wife and I, to acquire as much wood as possible and chop as much as wood as we could in about 10 months. The first photo you saw was early March. I think it was March 3rd, the one where I'm standing there. And I was just starting to get wood from some of my properties as well as my in-laws' properties and some neighboring properties up there. People were very generous. And I said, hey, if anybody that has wood, please let us know. And I went and we picked it up. My sons helped, and they got some as well. And, we'd take the truck out, and we would take the truck out. We have a couple box trucks for our business. So we would just pick up, 2, 3 tons of wood and bring it out there. And then the chopping began, man. So, yeah, over the course of 10 months, 10 and a half months, I believe if you look at that pile, it goes there from the far left. As you can see me standing on it, it's like 8 foot tall in the center. Descending. From the far left, the whole way down towards that tree, that big tree on the far right, that really gnarly old looking tree, is about 40 foot. The pile width is about 20 at the widest and about entering 12 zone at the 2 narrowest. And yeah, I mean that kind of sums it up. They're 40 foot long, 8 foot at the tallest point, which I'm pretty much standing on. When I get off the pallet later in the video, you can kind of see the top of my head. So you might think, well, how tall is this guy, right? I mean, I'm not 8 foot tall. No, but I'm standing on 6x6s over there, double stacked on the other side. I have a bunch of 6x6s and 4x4s that are probably, 12 to 15 inches off the ground, and I'm standing on top of those, and you can barely see my head. So that tells you the size of the pile of wood that we're standing on there. And again, the pile width is about 20 foot wide right there from side to side. So it's a lot of wood. I mean, when I put it into one of those little tabulation sites, it says that we have about 32 cords of wood up there. Over 10 months, not too shabby. I don't know if you know what a cord of wood is. That's a 4 by 8 by 4, 4 foot wide, 4 foot tall, 8 foot long, stacked neatly wood. That's what a cord is. Now we're obviously throwing these, so there's sites where you could put in, if it's just in a pile, approximately how much wood it is, and I did that. And I gave the narrowest, which was 12 foot wide, and the widest was actually 21 foot wide. The tallest part of this pile was a little over 8 foot, and the lowest part of this pile was about 3.5 foot. You tabulate all those numbers every 10 foot, and then you put it in and it gives you a roundabout estimate. The lowest estimate I got was 28 cords. The highest estimate was 35, so I'm saying it's about 30. That being said, my wife and I literally hand split and chopped this all from March 3rd to the current date now. Today, literally today, which was December 29th. So today would be the last official day of our chopping year of 2024. So we didn't do too bad. I said it was a lot of work. We probably made about 70, 80 trips up there to chop wood, and every time we go up there, we're up there for a good 2 hours. When I say up there, this is right by a property that is within our family. My son lives up there, my mother-in-law lives up there, her mother and father. And it's a property up there that they have, that we access, and that's one place we get wood. And then we have another property about 10 miles from there in Shenling where we get wood when we need it. And actually, there's two big down trees there that are, I would say, probably 2 to 3 cords of wood for me to get, which her and I will go down and start chainsawing that up probably here in 2 or 3 weeks. And then we also have another property in the Salzburg area where we can also acquire wood. And again, like I said, my cousin, very generous. He's brought us, I would probably say at least 4 or 5 cords of wood that we got off of him this year. So we have an abundance, And here, I'm just tossing her some wood off the pile, and she puts it in the back of the vehicle. Right now, we're on pace as a supplemental heat. This is not our full heat, but it's a supplemental heat. And like I said, it's saving us about $480 a month. I keep tabs on it, and that's where we're currently at after 5 years. $480 a month, 6 months out of the year. You're looking at almost $3,000 a year in savings, which is not too shabby. I'll take it right over the course of 40 years. It's $120,000 saved. I always tell my boys, our sons, you guys keep doing this, and plus our savings when we're long gone, and your savings, and in 100 years, you're looking at $300,000, man. More than that, I'm sorry. $6,000 a year, give or take, or it can be that much if you go full-time burning. So let's just go ahead and say $5,000 a year. And when we get another stove in the house, potentially that could be the case, and make it full-on wood stove heat and get rid of all your other heating sources. You could do it with a high EPA stove and a good chimney setup. It burns efficiently, it burns effectively. There's very little soot, very little, if you will, pollution, and there's plenty of wood. So it's like you could potentially save $4 or $5 grand a year for 100 years. That's $400,000 to $500,000 saved. The exercise side of it, I love it. You don't have to go to the gym. You get a great workout 2-3 days a week. Chop wood 10, 11 months out of the year. Take a month off. Get right back to it. Can't beat it. You don't need the gym. It keeps you healthy. You get plenty of heat, and there's nothing like that good, wonderful BTU heat from natural wood. If anybody out there tries to debate this, those of us who have a wood stove know they don't know what they're talking about. The fact is, wood on a fire is such a warm heat. It really genuinely warms your bones. If you haven't experienced it, I tell you what, you should. Again, it's hard work, but guys, people go to work 8 hours a day and do jobs that they hate every day. What is it to go out for an hour and a half in Mother Earth's beautiful air and with your favorite person, my wife, and chop some wood? I love it. My wife was very wonderful, and my kids and bought me 3 of the best axe you can get. Helco Works axe. They're phenomenal. I have 3 of them. Over the course of the 5 years, every other Christmas, basically, they bought me a new axe, and now I have 3 different types. They're freaking phenomenal. And I have a couple mauls as well for some of the more gnarly wood. But yeah, guys, if you're in good shape or decent shape, you have access to wood, you're not afraid of keeping an eye on the wood stove. Again, it's open fire, but it's no more dangerous than any other open flame as long as you're paying attention to it. Keep your chimney clean. Do what you're supposed to do. Make sure your wood's well and good and dry. All this wood you're looking at here is at least a year and a half old, year and a half dried or seasoned. Some of it, by the time we get to it, it's 30 cords. Some of this wood we won't get to for another 2.5, 3 years, which is even better. Keep it well covered. You don't want it to be moist. You don't want it to get bug infested or fungi on it or rot out, because it will in that type of weather. So as you can see in this video, we make sure we cover it. We keep it properly covered. We have numerous tarps on it. Keeps that off. We leave a little bit of opening along the bottom to get some wind to get up underneath there. to keep some of the moisture out of there as well. Just the wind helps drive it out faster as well. The tarps are mainly black or dark, so that helps with UV rays, keeping it hot, so it really dries the wood out well. But yeah, I mean, hey, as you can see here, we're just loading up the truck, taking that home, and yeah, we not only have a wood stove here in our houses, but we have them in our homestead as well, where we use that supplemental heat when we're out there for extended periods of time, working on chores, mending fences, going out to clean up the manure, going out to clean up after the animals, or having to stay out there when the sheep have babies and when the ewes are pregnant. You're out there a little bit more, so having that supplemental heat is very, very imperative, which we have plenty of it, as I noted above, or noted before in this video. They have numerous resources for wood on 3 or 4 different locations and properties. Plus, if you know a couple arborists, people are always, the power companies, they'll give away wood. People that are cutting down trees will give away wood. If you shouldn't have any difficulty acquiring wood once you put it out there, that's a resource that you need. There's plenty of it. And again, the pollution scenario is, her and I, we always keep air filters in our house. We have a couple HEPA filters in our house that are always going. Helps with those small particles or pollutants that you may not otherwise see. And we clean our chimney at least 3 times over the winter, and that's probably overkill, but I like to have that peace of mind with my mother living with us, and an elderly woman, as well as my kids and my wife. So we do that. But this is the remaining wood that we have, guys. We literally, as you can see right here, have all that wood that, about 30 cords that we chopped up, her and I, I'm 46, she's 45, over the last 10 months or so. And here we are, about to chop some more today. We were up there for, it was almost about 2 hours. We, had to kind of get the tarp had blown off from some wind, so we moved some wood around on the other side and recovered it with a tarp, which you'll see here later in the video. And we spent time, the first 45 minutes, just readjusting all the wood on top of that pile, because with these crazy winds we've been getting, I think the gusts today are like 20 mile an hour. But there's a couple days, I want to say it's supposed to be like, today it's 50, 52, which is mild for December, obviously. Rainy and wet, but winds are like 20, 25. And then I think in the next 48 to 72 hours, it dips down to like 18, and the winds are supposed to be like 30 to 40 gusts. It's supposed to feel like 0 or -3 or something like that. But yeah, our weather's been kind of sporadic. But nonetheless, we were up there for about an hour and a half, 2 hours today. I think it was a little closer to 2 hours. And wife and I just chopping wood, man. Yeah, look at that swing she got. You gotta give it to her. She's really worked that swing out. When we first started chopping wood about 5 years ago, she had never swung an axe or anything like that, so it was slow going. It was a lot to get used to. And now she's got some confidence. She understands the trajectory of the axe and how to swing it and how to stand, how to be safe, but also how to get the most bang for your buck by using your legs and your erector spinae, your back muscles and your glute muscles and your trap muscles in your upper shoulders, and how to rotate the wrist forward to really get the axe head to build up momentum and force. That's very important when you're chopping wood, so you don't over-exasperate, overuse just one muscle group, and particularly when you're chopping 2 or 3 times a week, which is what we usually do over the course of anywhere from 7 months to 10 months out of the year. If we have a really, really, really abundant amount of wood, we'll chop 3 days a week, which we did this year. And that was a lot to ask out of a 46-year-old and 45-year-old body. But with the proper nutrition and decent rest and not going balls to the wall, if you were, or too crazy in any other venue of work, you can do it. Like I said, a couple hours, 2-3 days a week is plenty of exercise. I can assure you that. But then after doing that, we always make sure that we're eating a good meal, we're eating a high nutrition meal, a good salad, a good steak, some lean chicken, things of that nature, to kind of fuel back up, to make sure that we're ready for the another 48 to 72 hours of chopping again. But yeah, we maintain that kind of pace to make sure that we have an abundance of wood in case anything happens. For instance, I don't like to bring up COVID very often, but when COVID happened, a lot of people didn't have means, the basic necessities: heat, water, food, fuel, food, things of that nature. So I'm always the type that, if I can have a resource and have an abundance of it, and I'm fit enough to acquire it, and I have the means by which to get it, well, then I'm going to go out of my way and make sure that I get plenty of it. So having 30 cords of wood and then burning 5 or 6 per year, and then every year getting another 10 to 12 cords from here on out. There's never going to be a time in the next 3 to 4 years where we don't have at least 25 to 30 cords always available to us. So that's good, or even more if we keep that pace going, which is a wonderful thought and a wonderful thing to have, particularly. And we're throwing around the idea because we have another wood stove, and it's actually a really, really nice wood stove that we acquired from a junk job. We run a junk business, as I had mentioned, junk removal business, as well as more. Bailey's Junk Removal and More is what it's called. So we do landscaping, we do pickup and delivery, we do moving services, things like that. But about 60% of our business is actually removing junk from high rises, from apartments, from houses, from business venues, from anywhere you could think of. It could be a whole building, with somebody wants furniture removed from it, or wants TVs taken out of a duplex. We do all that. But to that point, we acquire a lot of things. And one of the jobs that we did last year, I got a very large wood stove, a cast iron wood stove. It's beautiful. New, the stove was probably $1,200 to $1,500. Used right now on Craigslist or something like that, $500-600 people will pay for the stove. So really nice stove. It's just sitting in our homestead, not too far from here, and I'm going to eventually use it. So I'm thinking about putting it in my kitchen next year. And so having an abundance of wood, and then having 2 wood stoves and having plenty of wood, it's just another form of peace of mind. You don't have to worry about where's the wood, where am I going to get the wood, is there going to be enough wood. We have plenty of it, and like I had mentioned before, numerous places on our property, there are trees that need to be cut down, and there are some trees that fell from these windstorms that we had. We had 2 very big ones that I had mentioned before in Shinling that are, when I say big, probably 50-60 foot long, 70-80-year-old trees. They're big trees. I think one's hickory, and I think the other one might be silver maple or red maple. I'm not sure, but they're very large trees, and that's probably, if I had to guess, 3 or 4 days of bucking it up, cutting it up, getting it into manageable pieces, and probably 2 or 3 weeks of chopping it up into actual firewood. It's a lot of wood. But yeah, so we have plenty, we have an abundance of it, and this is what we do, guys. This is what we've been doing all year, and I hope that anybody else out there that's wondering, could they do it? By all means, you could do it. Is there enough wood? There's plenty on this planet Earth, guys. It's all a matter of just getting yourself a stove hookup. And one of these days, maybe I'll do a video and show you guys our stove hookup and what we did. We hooked it all up ourselves. It wasn't, it's not super technical. If you follow directions, you do a little reading online, and make sure you do it and put it together the way that's supposed to be. Make sure it's the female and males are hooked up correctly, and make sure the biggest thing is using the right metal. A lot of people will use a 1 gauge, if you will, inside or outside. It's just not thick enough. You have to go with the 3-pane, or the triple wall is what they call them, or the double wall. We have a triple wall. Everything outside is triple wall, stainless steel outside. Inside's double wall going to the actual stove. Some people can use single, going from the stove to the thumbnail, if you will, or it's like a big metal centrifugal looking piece of metal that goes through your wall. I think it's called a thumbnail. Sorry if I'm wrong, correct me on that. But it goes through your wall, and what it basically does is protects the wood or anything that's your insulation from the heat of the actual stove, so nothing catches fire and going through your wall to the exterior of your building. And that's expensive. I mean, this stuff isn't cheap. It probably ran us, I would say, the whole setup, because we're going up about 12 foot to our roof, and then about another 5 foot over our roof with triple wall, and then you have all the mounting stuff and things of that nature, plus your double wall on the inside. That probably cost us somewhere around $2,000 for the chimney. And then the stove was free. I got that from a junk shop. Well, there you could go. There's kind of a picture of the interior of the stove, guys. That was after a 168-hour burn of nothing but oak. I burned that. That was like 2 weeks ago. It was really cold, so I was burning nothing but predominantly oak. I think it was like 90% oak. I put a little bit of maple in there, but that's all oak. And let me tell you, that was one of the hottest fires. It burned at 600 and 650 for like 4 days straight. Kept the house nice and snug. Here we are towards the end of our day-to-day, guys, recovering up this pile and some of the wood that we moved. And Again, like I was telling you, that pile is 20 foot wide there in the widest spot, maybe even 25 foot now, because we moved some wood around, and it's about 8 foot at the center, and it's a big pile, guys, a lot of wood. But back to what I was saying about the stove hookups. Yeah, so you just got to make sure you have the right stove. Double wall, triple wall piping, make sure you hook it up correctly, make sure you use a decent stove, a good stove. It could be older, there's nothing wrong with that. Just make sure it's hooked up correctly. And the stove that we had gotten acquired was from a junk job, as I said, and it cost us nothing. Literally, it's you can probably get $500-600 for it. It's an older model. It's like a 2000, older, not super old, but big stove. Get a lot of wood on it. But yeah, man. So we are happy with the decision. We definitely will never go back. We will always have a wood stove in our homes. We'll always have one on our homestead or wherever we go. We also have an RV, as you see on the channel here, that we turned into an RV. It was a junk removal business truck at one time. And even on there, I'm thinking about putting a wood stove on that as well, because I have another wood stove that we also got from a junk job. It's a smaller one, but it would be perfect fit for that RV. So, yeah, I always say, if there's any way I can help anybody out, and the wife and I think alike, if we can get anybody to be rejuvenated or have a new thought process or just to step into another world, and kind of like nomadics people did, and the old times, people were nomadic. They had to go places and find the resources and move around to get what they needed. Well, I try to have a nomadic mind, as does my wife, and my mindset is make yourself available to change so that yourself can acquire the things that you need. When we're stagnant or we only want to look at four walls and we put ourselves into a box, we tend to miss out on a lot of opportunities that we otherwise could benefit from. So here we are, at 45 and 46 in the last 5 years. We've started the homestead. We've learned how to install wood stoves, and we now burn with wood. We've acquired 4 properties, and we travel wherever we want to go and whatever we want to do. And 17 years ago, we started a business, a African-American black-owned business that is run by my whole family. So we've definitely stepped out of our comfort zone. I would say we have the nomadic thinking. But hey, guys, tune into our channels. Check us out. Like,